Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tea Time with Tynan number 7. It's been a long time, 3 weeks. As things have been getting more normal, I've been able to travel more, and I've had friends over. I had my family here. And every Sunday I thought, man, I wish I could do tea time, but glad to be able to finally do it. Today I am drinking light roast dong ding. Oh, is this thing not going to focus? Let's see. There, look at that. Light roast dong ding by Tea and Whisk. Tea and Whisk is this awesome real tea place in Vegas. It's so rare to have a city that has like a real tea house where there's somebody who knows about tea, they have a wide variety, they source it themselves, all this sort of stuff. And for years I didn't think there was one in Vegas, and all of a sudden I found this one, and through Tucker Max's blog actually, and it's been here for 2 years, so I've been missing out. Ooh, mic problems fixed. Nice. Good to see you guys. What's up, Alex? Good to see you, man. Mark, great to see you. Fatima, great to see you. Just saw you 2 days ago on Noah's podcast. Good, I forgot to try to fix these, so I'm glad that they're fixed. I did mess with the mic a little bit, moved it closer, but not sure. Oh, yes, Marhair, the biggest critic of my audio. Good, I'm glad it works. It's funny, when I play it on YouTube afterwards, it always sounded fine to me, so I never heard the problem. Jonas probably, right? Oh man, hello from a high-speed train between Cologne and Berlin. I am so jealous. I am dying to go to Europe. I think I'm going to go probably to Istanbul in a couple weeks. Let me drink my tea. I made it too full. Hello to Gout from Fried Okra. Terrible name. I'm just going to tell you that every time till you switch it. You also spelled my name wrong, but that's okay. I like that you're here, and I like that you're the first question, too. Look at that. I'm going to answer in a sec. Anybody else drinking tea? Jonas, you should be. Tea on a train is like the best thing ever. Well, that and airplanes. Those are the two luxuries. This is good. It's the first time I've had this one. Dude, the trip to Noah's place was so good. So Noah has been wanting to get a new place for years. I feel like ever since we started hanging out a lot, which was probably a couple years ago, he's been like debating whether to get a new house and which one he should get and all this sort of stuff. And so he finally got this house that he liked, and I got to visit. It was so much fun. Really, really cool. Nice. What are you brewing? No topic today, but it's always crypto, right? I'm going to answer Gout's question because I think it's a good one. Your last tea time was at the crypto peak. My fortunes plummeted. Give us an update on why the crypto dropped, and guess what happened in the future. Prospects still bright for ETH and BTC. Yeah, that is funny. I think it's brighter than ever for ETH. I don't know about Bitcoin. I think there's some chance Bitcoin never sees its all-time high again, but also it very well could. There's a really compelling essay, well, I don't know if it's an essay, it's 80 pages, that somebody wrote. I forget, actually, I wish I had a link. If somebody has a link, let me know and I'll put it up on the screen. It's called The Triple Halvening and the Effects that it'll have on Ethereum. And people always ask me like what price I think Ethereum is going to go to, and my answer is generally I have no idea, and I have no idea when. I just know, or I believe strongly, that sometime in the future it's going to be an integral part of our economy, and that will make it go up. This guy, I think his name's Nikhil, he wrote this really compelling essay about why it's going to go up probably like 10x in the next 18 months, which, I mean, he thinks it's going to go up to 150K per coin, which I don't know, maybe it will. But his logic and his reasoning is so compelling that I feel pretty comfortable making the guess that it's going to be up to like 20 or 30K at least within 18 months. The really interesting thing from that, if you read it, is that it talks about how there are some factors that cannot be priced into a stock or an investment's price. So, for example, even though we know these certain things that are going to happen to Ether are going to make the price go up, they can't be priced in early. And that was sort of mind-blowing to me because I thought everything could be priced in, and he makes a really compelling argument for why it can't. So definitely worth reading if you're into crypto. Even if you're not, I think if you're into any sort of investment, I think it's really pretty interesting. Sheng Puer, nice. That's like the one, I don't know, I like it, but I don't love it like a lot of tea people do. It makes me feel like maybe I'm not that serious of a tea person. Another Puer guy, Ben's drinking right Puer, nice. Where do you live? What's the tea place there? What's up, Lenka? Good to see you. Man, it's so fun seeing all the regular people here. You guys are awesome. Let's see. Oops. Misha, the title, it's something called, if you search for Ethereum triple halvening, Halvening, I think that's it. You should rely on ramen anyway. You know, if you don't spend your crypto money. You know, I've been into crypto for a long time. I've never spent any of it really. So, yeah, if somebody posts the link, the way I set up this tea time thing, I have the keyboard really far away from me, so it's hard to type stuff and look for it. But if somebody finds it, I can put it up on the screen. Mark, a quick note, the day before yesterday, I framed and hanged one of my favorite posts in your bedroom. Own your life. Wow, that's so cool. Thank you. To do something brand new, you have to generate your own permission. Want to explain? I guess maybe I need the context, but I assume what I meant from that is that a lot of people, when they want to do something totally new, or at least new to them, like for example, when I was going to buy an island, I didn't know anybody else who bought an island. And we live in this society where we're so used to asking permission for everything, from the time we're babies all the way up, through pretty advanced school. You have to leave to ask in high school, you have to leave to ask the classroom to go to the bathroom, right? So you ask permission for everything. Probably have to ask your parents for a lot of permission. If you have a regular job, you have to ask your boss if you want to take a day off, which actually came as a big surprise to me when I had a job. I just booked a trip to Japan and told him, and he said, you can't do that. So I think that when you do new stuff, a lot of people don't have that muscle of giving themselves permission to do things. Actually, I haven't gotten any recently, but I used to get a lot of emails from people who had done a lot of smart research, and they'd say, hey, Tynan, here's something I want to do. Should I do it? And they'd done enough research that there was really nothing substantial I could add, but I could tell that they just wanted somebody to sort of give them permission to do it. So I suspect what I meant in that quote is that you sort of have to give yourself permission to do new things. You can't wait for someone else to do something new, because if it's that new, probably there's no authority who could give you permission. That's a guess. Nice. Thinking in Bets. Love that book. Actually, I only read part of it, but it's one of those books where I started reading it and was like, oh yeah, this is exactly how I think, but it's just much better explained than I would explain it. There's another one I'm reading now too. I think it's called The Psychology of Wealth or something. My friend David Hauser recommended it. And it was very similar to Thinking in Bets. I think if you like Thinking in Bets, you'll like that as well. And it's sort of about the psychology of money, and and I also found that I related a lot to it, and I'm learning new stuff too. Cold brew oolong, nice. It's super hot in Vegas, so that's what I should be drinking too. Awesome. Brief history of Set. So this is my big sad news of this week. Well, maybe not sad. It's good too. I finally switched from Set to WordPress, and it's sort of equal parts sad and equal parts a relief to not have to deal with these bizarre random bugs. But essentially what Set was about almost 10 years ago, about 9 years ago, Todd and I was on WordPress. I was blogging a lot. That was sort of my main thing I did at the time. And there were a lot of problems with WordPress, or I shouldn't say problems, but there are things I wished that it had. I have, which is still a problem I haven't solved, but we have this community here of readers who all, I wish could interact more with me and more with each other. that was sort of the big thing. And so what I wanted to do was build a blogging platform that mixed forums with blogs. So I built that, and then along the way we also did a lot of other cool stuff. Like as we got new bloggers, we found that they had trouble getting new readers, so we made something that would recommend posts on other people's blogs in sort of a ratioed system, so it was always fair. Anyway, it was just like this. We had it so you could like queue up a bunch of posts. It would post them on your automatic schedule. But then if you posted during one of your scheduled times, it would push the other one to another week. All this sort of stuff. And anyway, I'm not good at marketing. And I think I had too much hubris where I just thought, if I build something really good, everybody's going to switch to it and I won't need to market. And then what happened is we spent 3 years and I couldn't even get my like blogger friends to switch to it. Like my really close friends. And that was a big sign. And what I realized was that anybody who had a big blog didn't really need it because they already had like a custom solution, or their custom solution was close enough that they weren't willing to take the risk. And then people who were just starting kind of didn't care enough to pay for anything, so we didn't make money off them. And I'm sort of like in the middle of the range blogger, and there were very few people like me. And so it was just very hard. So we shut it down, but I just kept using it for years until last week, and we finally shut it down. Anyway, kind of sad. But I have to say WordPress has gotten a lot better. It's still annoying to me that a lot of the features we came up with aren't there, although some blogging platforms have used a lot of them, which is kind of cool. You explain your post perfectly with the same examples. Wow. And wrote it 10 years ago. That's hilarious. Oh, thank you. It's pretty funny. Sometimes I'll have an idea for a post and then I'll just double check to see if I've written about it before, and I'll find it and I'll think, and I either find, oh yeah, that's exactly what I was going to write, or it'll sort of be like, oh yeah, that's what I used to think, and now I like have a little more experience. So it's sort of interesting to see that sometimes. Gout asks, I'm going to call you Okra, actually. That's a better word. All right, Okra. What are 1 or 2 best tips that really helped your clients on average? What are their big self-sabotage blocks? I was actually thinking about this. I did my calls. I try to batch them all in a week. So I did them all a couple weeks ago. And I think that almost everybody, within the knowledge of what people think they should do, everybody knows what they should do, but then they also add so much other stuff to it. And I think it comes from a lot of reasons. I think sometimes it's clarity. Sometimes I think it's fear of like, well, if I don't put my eggs in a lot of baskets, you know, what if this one important thing fails? So I think that's one of the most important things. Another one I found is consistency. I think I help a lot of people just understand the value of sort of low challenge, very consistent tasks and then building them up. There's even someone in this chat now who's one of my coaching clients, and he's the #1 most consistent person, really, really good at consistency. Anyway, I'm not going to say who it is in case he doesn't want people to know, but yeah. Let's see. Okay, that's not what I thought. I thought it was something else. Y'all don't need to buy land if you want a cabin in Canada. We just take an ATV and build one in the forest on government land. I wonder if is that legal? That sounds cool. Is there any chance you could have Derek Sivers on here? I feel you nicely share some similar ways of thinking, yeah, I agree, man. I love Derek. It's funny, we probably catch up on the phone maybe once every few months, probably a little bit overdue now. And then we hang out maybe once every couple of years. It's pretty unusual. Part of it's because he lives in New Zealand. But anyway, yeah, next time I see him, for sure, we'll do one of these. I love how he thinks too. I think when we hang out, we just sit and we chat for like hours and hours and hours. And it's just like so many good ideas. And I really appreciate people like him who are also just like always doing their own thing no matter what. I feel like those are my favorite people to learn from. To stake ETH on your own, do you use a physical server at home or VPS? I use a physical server. I have one. I used to share it with another server, then I made a separate one. It's actually pretty easy. If you just follow the directions, there's a bunch of how-tos that are going to be better than anything I can tell you on here, but they're pretty good. The only thing I would say is that if you're going to do it, don't bother doing your own ETH1 node. It takes up more space, more CPU and everything. You can just use Infura or Alchemy APIs, and you can actually use both, so they're redundant. And that's what I do. There's also something worth looking into, which I also do with a smaller portion of my ETH, which is the Curve Steth Vault, STETH, on Yearn.finance. So that's probably beyond the scope of what I can really get into, but yeah, look into it. This is a good question. I love productivity questions. It's funny, I'm not all that productive these days. Or I shouldn't say that. I have fewer things that I need to be productive on these days, but I still love it. How can I measure productivity outputs instead of activities? Moving, and she wants to know how to move out from being busy. So I think the most important thing here is to think about what is your actual goal that you care about. And usually when people aren't clear on what that actual goal is, that's when they become busy, because they don't want to be doing nothing, right? They want to be doing something. If you know exactly what you want to do, or the outcome you want, then what you have to do is really take some time and think about what is going to get you there the most efficiently, in the most efficient manner. What is the larger campaign? Like, let's say you want to make money, so you want to build a business. Like, okay, what is going to give you the most leverage on that business? And sometimes it's put up the starting page. Sometimes it's getting more clients, whatever it is. And then you need to think, then what I would think about is, what's a daily task I can assign myself such that if I do it every single day, I'm almost guaranteed to succeed. And then I only focus on whether I did that task or not. Because when you're focusing too much on the outputs, it sometimes, it makes it so you can only focus on short-term goals, because maybe you're not going to see the output for a year, but sometimes there are processes that you need to undergo to get that result that's going to come in a year. So that's what I would recommend for that. Oh yeah, that's the book I was talking about. Psychology, I think it's Of Money by Morgan Housel. Thank you. Thanks for finding that. Somebody should find the triple halvening link too, if you can. Let's see. Does this definition, I like clicking questions before I've read them. It's a little scary. Does this definition of freedom resonate with you? Freedom is knowing who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, be doing and doing it. It's not doing what we want. Freedom is knowing who you are, what you're supposed to do. I mean, I don't think it's wrong, but I don't think it would be the same. I think for me, freedom is I guess it's being able to choose what you do. I think that there are a lot of free people who don't know what they're supposed to do, and I think that that's actually one of the big benefits of freedom, is that you can take a year and figure it out. You know, you can travel, you can meet people, you can have good conversations, you can dabble in stuff, and you can use that to figure out what it is you want to do. Or you can choose to do nothing if you really want to, although I guess I don't know too many people that choose that. So I don't know, I think freedom means different things to different people, and in the same way success means different things to different people. And I think that's cool. I think it's cool to kind of have different definitions and different goals. Oh yeah, I forgot to post about this. I'm going to post next week. Yes, so it's going to be in Vegas. It's actually half of a makeup for, I had one scheduled for the beginning of COVID, and then I postponed it, and I kept postponing it. I ended up kind of in not the middle of COVID, but sort of tail end. Said, hey, if you guys can get tests, and we'll do it outside. So about half the people came, half the people didn't feel comfortable coming. And so this is a makeup one for them in Vegas. And so, hopefully we'll get a few more people too, and we'll make it full. Have you ever heard of Sebastian Marshall's Ultra Working Company? Thoughts on it? Yeah, I have. I used to be really almost like best friends with Sebastian. I don't know, we haven't talked in a while. I'm really good friends with Kai, the guy who co-founded it with him, but he doesn't work there anymore. I like Ultra Working. I learned a ton from Sebastian. I would say he was one of the major keys in me becoming productive and learning how to work hard. I mean, probably the number one key, I would say. And so Ultra Working is very much a Sebastian company, and I think it really reflects his values. And I think it's cool. I haven't done it personally, but I know a lot of people who have. A lot of the people who come to my events have done it, and they've said really good things about it. And actually, I think 2 events ago, I had a deal with them where everybody got a free few months of it, and so they got to try it. So that was cool. He also has that diet program, Clockwork Nutrition, which seems really cool to me. If I didn't just eat Chipotle all the time, I would definitely do that. Hey, did you ever go to Baja, California? Where's Baja, California? Is that like San Diego? Or you mean like in Mexico, Cabo and stuff? Not sure. No thoughts on Hex. I don't know anything about it. Might be great, might not be. My general thought on crypto is that I believe Ethereum is going to win in the long run. I think if anything else wins, then ETH will probably come along with it. And I think the downside for ETH is significantly limited compared to the downside of any new random coin. There's also so many random coins and cryptos that on any given day or any given month, one of them is going to be performing at an outsized rate. The question is, could you or should you have predicted that? And I think generally the answer is no. So that's why I don't really mess with any other ones. I have friends who are even more into crypto than I am. If they recommend something to me, I take a look at it. I do have a small amount of BitCloud, even though I think it's stupid. I just had an opportunity to buy it early. Not stupid. I think I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird one. But yeah, I don't know what Hex is. Mark, great questions today, man. Thank you so much. Mark says, I think a topic you've never blogged about is analyzing social media, both good and bad. For me, it looks like a kind of nice thing, but I think it's also a huge distraction, mental drain. I think social media is like any other tool, that it's kind of what you make out of it. I mean, a gun can be the best thing in the world if somebody's about to murder your family and you kill them. It can also be the worst thing in the world if you kill somebody or kill yourself by accident, right? Social media, what I found is I follow almost nobody. On Facebook, I follow all my like close friends and family, stuff like that. On Instagram, I follow generally more people just because it's quicker to consume. I'm not reading; I just kind of scroll through. On Twitter, I follow almost nobody, and I think it's easier that way. I don't know. I see how if people are like following a million people that are providing like a very edited version of their life, that could be a bad thing, maybe make you feel inferior or something like that. But I think it can be a great way to connect with friends, see what your friends are up to, stuff like that. Yeah. I use something called StreamYard for this, and it doesn't. The scrolling is really annoying. So have you looked at other ETH farms like Lido and Rari? I looked a little bit. Yearn seemed to be the most trustworthy, and it uses Lido for the vault I do. Will the Superhuman online thing also happen? Maybe I should just do one. You know what it is? At this point, I just want to do things that I want to do, and I feel like sitting in front of a computer all day in Zoom calls is like my worst nightmare. And I love doing them online. I like seeing the connections between people, and I like meeting people in person. So I don't know. I guess I also wonder if it would be as effective. I feel like Superhuman is sort of like a winning formula that, honestly was half stumbled upon by accident. And I just wonder if online would work. My friend Leo Babauta just did an online thing, and he said it went really well. So he kind of had me thinking maybe I would try it. I'm not sure. What's up, Dieter? I still have 5 cookies left. I eat 1 per day. They're so good. Dieter's daughter has a company called Cookie Mama, and they are like Noah and my favorite cookies. I also ate some at Noah's house too. Can you give a quick overview of the Superhuman event? So it's essentially I get around 10 people together in Vegas, and it's just 2 days of us in a hotel suite where we everybody gets 1 hour where I focus entirely on them and try to it's almost like the coaching I would do on the phone, but a little bit different because I know I'm not going to be able to follow up regularly. And so they sort of talk about what they're working on, what their biggest challenge is, and then I try to help them get through that. And then in between, we also just kind of hang out, we tell stories. There's time for like random questions kind of like this, but a little more in depth. And I think some of the cool unexpected things that come from it are that people very often realize that what they thought was their problem wasn't really their problem, or they see opportunities that they didn't realize they had. So it's very common for people to say, you know, I came in with this thing for my business and I feel like I've like gotten some clarity on that, but I didn't realize I had this big issue that this guy brought up, and now I'm going to work on that too. There's also a lot of friendships that people build. Superhuman 2, I think, which was like years ago, they still meet every like few months online to check in with each other. And I think they're going to like meet in person at some point. I think I might try to go too. I set people up with accountability partners. And it's also a little bit fluid. It's small enough and it's informal enough that sometimes it can be a little bit different. So one time we went on the boat for a day. Another time a guy rented a Lamborghini. Everybody got to drive it. So we do some fun stuff too. The ones I only did one, but the one in Budapest was a little bit more like 50% sort of self-improvement, working on that stuff, and 50% me showing people Budapest. To me, it felt like a slightly weirder mix. Like I worried more whether it was worth it for people or not, or whether it was just sort of like, I don't know, like, could you just see this stuff without me? But I got really good feedback, and there was a guy who had gone to a regular one and went to that, and he said it was like equally good in different ways. So yeah, that's kind of what it's about. No pressure to sign up. If people want to come, that's great. If they don't, maybe it's not the right thing for you, but it's a lot of fun. It has a like 100% satisfaction rate. I think the average score people rated is like 9.5 or something like that. I think it's a really, really good time, and I've heard back from a lot of the people and seen the changes they make, and it's really pretty cool. Nice. Dieter and Fatima, they are like the dream team for all live streams. Let's see. Make it half days. Yeah, maybe I should do half days. That's a good idea too. I'm gonna have to think about it. Have I done Shabbat dinner with Noah? Thoughts on the weekly and annual feast days? I have not. Religious rituals are just so dumb to me. Sorry, I know probably some of you are religious, but I don't know, man. I just, you know, we can all have dinner. I guess I would go if I was there and he was doing it and I was like staying with him, but I would not go out of my way to go to something like that, I would say. All right, Misha's really pushing for an online one. I'm going to think about it. Maybe I'm going to do it. It's $1,500. Yeah, I think both of them, Europe one, and I might make the Europe one more expensive because I spent so much money buying people stuff that it wasn't as good. Any traveling plans for Europe? Man, as soon as I can go to Budapest, I'll be there like day one. I was supposed to be in Europe right now. A friend bailed on me at the last minute. Not very cool. I think I'm going to go to Istanbul in a couple weeks. And if I can pop over to somewhere in Europe from there, I'll probably go. But yeah, I can't wait to go to Europe. You know, I used to never really be a Europe guy, and now I miss it so much. Especially, I think that Vegas is sort of the opposite of Europe. Both of them have their strengths, but I'm used to being able to have both in my life in a year, and now I'm like, you know, I just can't walk around like a cute little old town and, you know, pop into different fancy restaurants and stuff. It's just very different. New old post on cruising. How's Cruise Sheet going? Cruise Sheet is going poorly, I would say. It's starting to come back, and that's cool. Business model is that, yeah, I get a percentage of every booking fee, but I only get that fee once they actually go on the cruise. So you can imagine that, like, you know, it's like an accrual business where I'm accruing all these referral fees, but I don't actually get them to people cruise. So like when COVID hit, there was all this money that I thought I was going to get and then didn't get. And so, I mean, it's fine. It doesn't really matter, but yeah. You can email me and I'll make sure you get a spot. Anybody else who comes to these things, if you want an early spot, you can send me an email. When I post it on my blog, usually it gets sold out. Especially this one only has like 5 spots, I think, because it already has 5. So yeah, if you want a spot, email me. Otherwise, you can also just wait for the blog post. Dieter, where are you in Germany, by the way? I like Germany. Has cruising changed permanently because of COVID? I don't know. I've got a cruise booked in July, so I'm really excited to go on a cruise for the first time in, wow, almost 2 years. Wait, more than 2 years? I've totally lost track of time with COVID. I think it won't change permanently, but it's certainly changed now. Like you have to be vaccinated. I think you might still have to wear a mask in some certain areas. Celebrity just did their first cruise out of St. Martin for U.S. passengers, and it was a big success. 2 people had COVID. They were vaccinated, and they were asymptomatic, but they're testing everybody upon exit. So that was pretty interesting. Check out Make Tea Not War in Berlin if you make it here. Cool, I will. Yeah, I haven't been to Berlin in a really long time. And if I remember correctly, I wasn't into tea when I was last in Berlin. So yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I feel like Europe has a lot of good tea places these days. I find it weird that you never drink coffee. I think coffee is the same as tea in the sense that people drink it really low. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, I'm sure that's true. Something I don't like, I guess I have had good coffee a few times, and it tasted good to me. I just didn't like how I felt. It was like so jittery, and I'm just used to tea, I guess. It's also something I don't want to like. So, like I'm sure I would like wine too. I bet I would love it. I bet there's like artisan candies I would really like, but I just don't want to like these things. So I just kind of don't let myself get into it. I would just rather drink tea. I think it's overall better for you. I don't think coffee's a disaster or anything, but I also like the culture of tea in that it lasts hours and hours. At this table I'm sitting at now, I have my friends over. We all drink tea together, and so I wouldn't want to take away from that. Yeah. Offer from Mark. If anybody in the chat feels like coming to Barcelona, hit me up on there. I was supposed to go on a transatlantic from Barcelona, and it got canceled, unfortunately. I love if anybody's in Barcelona, the Moreau Museum is one of my favorite museums ever. And I don't think I've ever told this story, but I'll tell you guys a funny story that I probably wouldn't publish in writing. So I was at the Moreau Museum, and Moreau's one of my favorite artists, and nobody else was there. I was on a cruise, and it's sort of like, it has these wings where you sort of go down a long hallway and then there's like a round gallery. And I was walking down one, I went in this gallery and I realized I was the only person there. And I was looking around and I thought, wow, if I was an art thief, and to be fair, I was reading a lot of books about art heists at this time. And I thought, if I was an art thief, I bet I could steal a painting here. And I'm like, I'm just going to pretend I'm an art thief and kind of imagine what that would be like. So I'm walking around and I'm looking for cameras and I see no cameras. And I thought, obviously I'm not really going to steal art. I think it's like one of the worst crimes you can do. But what if I just lifted it up off the wall just to see what it was like to be an art thief? And then I just put it back. And so I was sort of like thinking about it. I was like, I'm just going to do it. It doesn't hurt anybody. Let me do this thing. So I walk up to I'm like, all right, which would be my favorite piece and which one would I steal? And I pick it, put my hands on the painting. I'm about to lift it up and I look up and there's a camera right at me. So I put it down. Didn't actually lift it off the wall. So that was the closest I've ever gotten to being an art thief. Anyway, Moreau Museum in Barcelona, really cool museum. Every single time I do a cruise, I go there. And all the Gaudi architecture is also really cool. Favorite 1 or 2 trips in the U.S.? Tired of Texas. I think the Florida coast is kind of underrated. I don't know about if it's nice right now, but I went there in the beginning of COVID with a friend who rented a house, and it was super nice. Hawaii, especially Big Island, I don't know if you count that, it's really good. Puerto Rico is really good. Right now, if you went in the Northeast, like Maine or Vermont, that might be kind of nice. Portland, there's a lot of good hiking. Alaska, a lot of good hiking, cool stuff. Sorry for joining late. What cruises do you recommend? Good to see you, Zach. So I like Alaska cruises. I like transatlantic cruises are my favorite, or trans-Pacific cruises are my favorite because I like sea days. Even now, cruising is just coming back, and I was looking at some of those cruises in the Caribbean, and they have so many port days that I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go on those ones. So I like the ones with more sea days. I think it also matters a lot what ship you're on. So I like celebrity ships. I like Royal Caribbean ships, especially the bigger Royal Caribbean ships that have rock climbing. To me, that makes a big difference. All right, let's see here. Wow, this tea's getting really good. Paul asks, what are your thoughts on working around your weak points versus improving your weak points? Tough to know when you're smartly delegating things versus being lazy. That's a good question. I don't think I have a definitive answer on it, to be honest. I think you probably want to do both, right? Like, if you have a weak point, I think you at least want to get it from being a negative to a neutral, right? Like, if you have actively bad social skills, for example, your life is going to be really bad. If they're just neutral, you're probably going to be okay. Or if they're slightly positive, you're going to be okay. Same way, like if you have crippling procrastination, you're never going to make any progress. If you can work an average amount of time and you're working to your strengths during that time, probably you're also going to be okay. So I think generally you want to like spend a lot of time working on your weaknesses. Actually, I don't know, maybe that's not the right distinction. I think you want to be working on the things that are going to give you the most leverage on the goals you care about. Sometimes those are your weaknesses, sometimes those are your strengths. But in general, when you're choosing a project to do, I think you want to work from your strengths. I don't think it makes sense to say, hey, like for me, for example, I'm not good at marketing. If I would say, hey, well, I'm going to start a marketing agency and I'm just going to get really good at marketing. It's like, well, no, I'm starting so low that probably I'm not. Whereas if I work on something that's my strengths, and then I say, hey, but I'm going to learn enough marketing to like make it work. That might be a better strategy. But it's tricky. I think there's probably a lot of good answers for that would be different from mine. Yeah, I saw you once posted about cruising to Petropavlovsk. Would love to go there. It wasn't the most interesting stop in the world. I mean, I don't know. It was interesting, but we'll put it this way. We had hired this tour guide. And at the end of the tour, I asked her, I said, hey, what's your favorite thing about living in Petropavlovsk? And her first reaction said, well, it's not the daily life, that's for sure. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. But it was cool to go somewhere like that. I think if you're into that kind of thing, a cool place to visit is like Central Asia. Like Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan are sort of similarly like remote and weird, but probably more interesting. But that is one of the best cruises. I try to go on it every season, but I was supposed to be on it this last season, but then it got canceled. It's a cruise that goes from Vancouver, Seattle. I think it maybe changes. Vancouver, Seattle to Tokyo by way of either Alaska or Petropavlovsk, depending on the year. Here's a better recommendation from Dieter. 30A area between Destin and Pensacola is insanely nice, mostly unknown to the rest of the U.S. I wonder if that's where I was. Might be. Finally, something on topic about tea. I haven't started with tea yet. Am I not supposed to put anything in it? Is it frowned upon to put sugar and things in it? Would you recommend a tea subscription? Great questions. Don't put anything in it. If you have to put something in it, it's not good tea. That said, I've had like high British tea where you put milk and sugar in, and it is good, but I would say that's a very small, and like chai also is sweetened, but the vast majority of tea should be enjoyed without anything. Thing is, if you have a bad tea, you need to add sugar and milk to it or it won't be good. So it's almost like a good litmus test. If you can't enjoy it without those things, you probably shouldn't be drinking out of it anyway. I've had bad luck with tea subscriptions. I did one during COVID because I missed going to tea houses, and it was like one of the most respected places that people really liked, and then they had like the expensive like premium tea subscription. So my friend Todd and I did that so we could like drink tea and compare it with each other, kind of like we were like hanging out. And all the teas were kind of mediocre. I still have some up there that I just haven't gotten through. I think it's better the best thing to do is go to a tea shop, ask them to taste a few teas. Most good places will let you do that. Usually they won't even charge you. And then, they tend to kind of figure out what you like, and they'll recommend good ones. Wow, look at this. There's Gabor, my buddy. Gabor from Jiaozhou Tea, just in time. He says hello from Budapest. I guess he's talking about something I didn't see. That's my favorite thing to do. One of the things I missed most in this world right now is going to Jiaozhou. Gabor has excellent taste in tea, and so very often I'll just come in and he'll say, what do you want? I say, you just choose something for me. And say 49 out of 50 times, it's exactly what I wanted. So that's one of the fun parts about a tea shop. All right, hold on. Let me scroll up. I missed a few here. Any updates on potential Tynan reader online community? Not yet. I was thinking about it as I was setting up WordPress. I'm still thinking about it. The reason I think it seems like I'm procrastinating on this is I'm kind of poking around trying to find the right formula. What I'm worried is I'm going to start something, it'll immediately die because there just won't be enough people or it's not the right format. So I'm trying to think of a way to make it so that it will, guarantee success or have a good chance of success. This would be fun. What about doing tea time where we all get to enjoy the same tea, like a tea tasting? Maybe I can get Gabor to do that. I don't know as much about tea as Gabor or other people. I feel like, I'm like a half expert on tea, but not like a full expert. So, but we could do it just for fun. Maybe for the next tea time, or maybe I'll schedule one out long enough that everybody could get the tea. I'll pick a tea and we can all drink it or something like that. That'd be kind of fun. Or I also think it's fun if everybody's just drinking their own tea. It's just kind of a nice thing to take an hour and we all just drink tea together and chat a little bit. Any thoughts on personality types? I don't know what these are, so I'm not going to answer it. Sorry. Seems interesting, though. Oh, that's an interesting question. Is there any other traveling where the travel is a central part of the journey that you've tried? For example, horse trekking, long-distance bike riding. I'll tell you, I signed up for a long-distance bike ride with my friends one time. I really hated it. I ended up, after a day or two, I got sick, and then I just stayed in the food poisoning, and then I stayed in the van. It was pretty miserable. Horse trekking would be interesting. I really enjoy riding horses. Train travel is really, really good. Like the rail pass in Japan is an incredible deal. I've done a bunch of those. There's actually a deal. Amtrak has a train pass in the US right now that's a good deal. What else? Road tripping is great. RVing is great. Did a motorcycle trip around Alaska that was sort of miserable, but a lot of people like that. I like that kind of stuff, though. Yeah. Anything we can do to improve our self-discipline on a daily basis? Yeah. The number one thing I think to improve self-discipline is to make a rule that you always do what you say, and then with that, you be very careful about what you say. And this includes to other people and also to yourself. So for example, if I say, I'm going to do tea time at 10, I actually do it at 10, right? I set an alarm, I make sure I do it. But even if I would get out, the way you start is you do really easy things. So you get out of bed and you say, I'm going to make my bed, and then you make it. So for the first month, you might only do things that you already know you're going to do. So you might finish eating, you say, I'm going to bring my plate to the kitchen. You bring your plate to the kitchen. Then the next month, or maybe a month after, depending, you start doing things where it's not a total given you're going to do it, but you could definitely do it. So you might be sitting at your desk, you say, I'm going to go do that errand that I'm supposed to do. And so then you get up and you do the errand. And then eventually you move on to things where you don't know for sure, it's not a given, or it's like, might be a bit of a challenge. That's something I did, and now I always do everything I say I'm going to do no matter what. And you treat your word like it's unbreakable. And that improves self-discipline because then you just say I'm going to get this task done, and you've quieted down that part of your mind where you're saying, well, should I do it? Should I not do it? Do I have a good enough excuse? What if I do this instead? And that's sort of, I think, where a lot of self-discipline comes from. Oh, this is cool. See, I'm just obsessed with Jiao, so I'm just, even though these have nothing to do with me, I'm just posting them. I visited Jiao many times that haven't met you. Hopefully I can come back to Budapest soon and enjoy some oolong. I've actually met a bunch of readers at Jiao, so it makes me super happy that people actually go there. God, I miss that place. All right. What's the long-term idea for tea time with Tynan? How long do you think you'll do it for? Is it the basis point, building the community aspect back up? I'm not sure. I think in an ideal world, it would grow to where it became big enough that it had to be something else. The past, it seems to have leveled off at about 30 people, which is, hey, if there were 30 people sitting here in my living room, I would feel pretty honored that everybody showed up. But it's probably not enough that it's going to really turn into a bigger thing. But that's fine. I have tea with one friend a lot of times too. So I just think it's fun that I'm going to drink tea anyway, and it's a way to just connect with readers and have a little more interaction with people who put in the effort to show up. So yeah, I really like that. David, is this how you pronounce David? Is this David in Polish? Probably. Been a long time reader. In fact, just discovered Tea Time with Tynan. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for showing up, man. Appreciate it. Everybody asks me about this. I've been curious. Are you still planning on making or producing a rap album one day? That would have been great to listen. I think about it very often, probably more often than you would imagine. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I actually was thinking about it recently too. I feel like I'm a little bit less into it these days, so maybe not enough to actually go through it. And it's one of these things, it's sort of like I was talking about earlier, when you say you're going to do something, you actually do it. It's like, okay, I know that if I commit to doing that, that's going to be like 6 months to a year of my life or whatever, however long. And so I want to make sure I'm signing up for that because I have other stuff going on. This is a good question. Adam asks, have you ever considered Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a way to learn a new skill while staying in shape, especially since you seem to have gotten to the UFC more recently? I did consider it. I thought about getting into MMA. So I took Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu lesson with my friend Roxanne Modafferi. She's a UFC fighter. It's actually how I met her, is I signed up for her class. And then I also took some boxing lessons as well. I think I like boxing more than Jiu-Jitsu probably, but the reason I don't do it is because I know that if I do it, I'm going to get nuts about it. And my friend Roxy always has a million injuries, and like everybody else I know who does it always has these injuries. It doesn't appeal to me a whole lot. I had the idea. I think if anything, I would do boxing, but I just don't want to deal with the injuries. I think it's just not good enough for you. Yeah. Oh, Noah's saying that biking is fun. I think the problem is I did this trip. My friend set it up. We did it in Cambodia. We were on this, it was super hot. We were on this like noisy highway with like trucks going by us. And it's sort of like, why am I even doing this? There's trucks going by us. We have a support van. I could just sit in that. I think if there was like, what I would really like is if there was some bike path that you could only do by bike. I think that's what I like about hiking. I don't want to hike on a highway. I want to hike on a trail, So I think if I could go somewhere that you couldn't go any other way, then I would be really into it. It just sort of felt like inventing a challenge for no reason to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just not my thing. It was also a little bit solitary. Like that's why I didn't like motorcycle trips. Is it was like we're all just kind of doing our own thing the whole time. I'd rather be in an RV where we can like chat and hang out a little bit. Yeah. Let's see. What are your tier 1 countries you must visit? You mean for me personally? Or deem must visit so for other people. If somebody could only go to 5, let's say people could only go to 5 countries, where would I tell them they should go? Japan and Budapest are like no-brainers. I'd say you definitely have to go to those 2. I would put China on the list as well. I think it's such a big country that there's an unlimited amount of experiences you can have there. I think it's just an important country in our history, so it's interesting to visit for that reason as well. Where else would I say? Boy, it's hard to come up with other ones. I mean, I'd say the United States, although I think you're from the United States, that wouldn't count for you. Where else do I really love? I don't know. I guess I don't have any others. Those are like there's a lot of other countries I really like. Like I'm tempted to say like Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan, but you don't have to go to those. Hong Kong, kind of tempted to say. Maybe Thailand, I don't know. Like I don't feel so strongly about it. Maybe Panama. I'd say, I'd say Japan, China, Hungary. Those are my 3 tier 1 countries. What do you do when you have a bad day or feel down? I'd say it doesn't happen very often. I'd say that the closest I have to that is I have a day where like I just sort of get to the end of the day. I'm like, I didn't really do anything today. There's stuff I should have done and I didn't. Then I just try to do stuff the next day. I don't know, like if something really bad happened in my life, like if when my grandparents died, I guess that would be a bad day. I don't know, just think about them a little bit. I don't know. I honestly just don't really have bad days, to be honest. Definitely there's a range. It's not like every day is exactly the same, but I think I think generally I've just like built up enough gratitude that even in a worse day, I'm like, well, I still am alive and I still have this awesome life and I still have a lot of awesome friends. So I don't know. I mean, how bad? I think, yeah, I guess that's what I do. First thing I think about is this really bad? And I usually come to the conclusion that it's not that bad. And then I feel really good. Oh, actually, that's a good one. New Zealand, I think one of my Kiwi friends always watches these later because it's like 3 a.m. where he is. And I don't know if he makes it to the end or not, but shout out to Jimmy. I'm adding New Zealand to the list. New Zealand is really, really cool. I think it's worth it. Aside from going to other places in this world, would you like to visit other galaxies? Yes, I would love to visit other galaxies. I would go anywhere. I would take probably like a 20% chance of death to go to Mars right now, I think. That might be stupid and I might think about it and change my mind. But yeah, I would love to. I think in general, I want to experience almost everything on this, I say Earth, but I guess in this galaxy. And yeah, for sure, I would love to do that. I think that'd be cool. Who knows, man? The way things are happening could happen in our lifetimes. I really hope so. Thinking about a big commitment, buying my own horse. I'm thinking about buying a horse too. That's crazy. Do it now and learn on the way, or get more expertise and do it in a few years. What's in favor of each option from your perspective? That's cool. That's a great question. We really get to like think about a decision in real time. So I guess the main concern would be I guess the question is like, what are you worried about? Is it like a big financial commitment, or is it that you don't want to hurt the horse? So my concern would be that I wouldn't want to like get a horse and then neglect it or something awful like that. But I think that the cost of these things is often very low, because if you buy a horse, you can just sell the horse again. You know what I mean? I don't know how much horses depreciate, but you're getting a used horse. You're not getting a new one probably. So it's probably not that expensive. Or, when you think about like buying it versus selling it later, it's probably not that expensive. I think you should do it. I think you should just go do it. Like, it depends your finances, but I would think about like, okay, if I have to like fire sale, sell this horse and lose money, and I'm going to give it a 6-month trial, I'm going to pay this much for like boarding and all that, which I think is a few $100 a month usually. I'd be like, am I willing to spend like say $3,000 for the option of like having this horse in my life forever? And to me, those always seem like yeses, because if you don't like it, you just get rid of the horse. If you do like it, then, well, it's worth all that money and more, so you've added value to your life. I'm actually thinking about buying a horse with some friends here in Vegas, because there's a lot of, there's some great riding areas, and there's a lot of like horse stables that'll take care of them and everything for you. I think it's cool. If you do get the horse, please come back and tell us about it. Maybe we'll even like video you on here and show the horse. I think that would be pretty cool. Let's just ask Zach where he should go. I feel like he's kind of right on a lot of these things. Chile was also really cool. I think from my experience, I wouldn't call it a must visit for me, but I loved it. I thought Chile was really cool. We went to the Atacama Desert. I think that was my favorite place there. Specifically, who do you think controls the strings in the U.S.? Somebody's telling our politicians what to do. I don't buy that. I think that we have a system of incentives in this country, and that's what causes reactions, which cause the outcomes. I think that there's a lot of, the politicians, I think, do control most of it. I think that they do a lot of things based on currying favor and individual power, because I think it's so brutal to be a politician that you have to care about those things to get there. So that's the kind of people we end up with generally. Obviously, there's a lot of lobbying from corporations, which generally I don't think is a great thing, but whatever, I get why it exists. I also think that this is the kind of question, I don't mean this is an insult or anything, but it's the kind of thing I just don't worry about, where I say, even if it's the Wizard of Oz, I'm not changing it. I'm going to live within, at this point, I don't have anywhere near enough money or power to change any of that, so I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm going to worry about what I can influence and control and exert leverage on that to improve my life and the lives of people around me. That's what I think. What are some small, cheap improvements around the house that can make everyday life more enjoyable? Sorry, your nose video. I have Hugh, amazing. Oh yeah, I guess we did one of those. I just thought of one the other. So I'll tell you something I just bought that is coming here today. It is the EcoBots T8 AIVI vacuum robot. and it can mop, it can vacuum. It has a camera and AI so that it will not run over cords, which is the number one reason I don't use my robot vacuum. Now. And yeah, so I'm excited about that. Robot vacuums are really good if you set them up. Home automation is really good. I traditionally used something called Habitat, but I'm in the process of switching to something called Home Assistant now, which possibly seems better. Ecobee thermostat is really good. Many utility companies in the US give them away for free. Oh, but you're in Barcelona, so that won't help. Anyway, those are really good. Automatic door locks, those are hard to find in Europe, but if you find European style ones, let me know, because I would like to have one in Budapest. I really like those. Art, I think this isn't what you were looking for, but I think that's an underrated one. I haven't put my art up, it's all in a pile over there. But, well, I guess I have a little bit. Having like actually nice art up in your house really, I found when I had it in my apartment, it really made a big quality of life improvement. Same with plants, having plants, which are a lot cheaper than art. I'm looking at like 5 different plants in my field of view now. There's one over there too. Trying to think what other stuff. Automated curtains are a little bit more of a hassle, but just to have them like open and close. I love when I wake up and all the curtains open in the house, feels really nice. If you drink tea, good tea kettle. This one is my favorite. It's the Stag EKG. Yeah, there's some things for you. If those aren't what you're looking for, just let me know. Let's see. Oh boy, we have a lot more. Oh yeah, so financial commitment and providing good training for the horse. Yeah, I would just do that exercise of like, what's worst case if you try out having a horse for 6 months and you get rid of it, or a year, pick how long you think it'll take you to like know whether you want to keep this horse or not. And then I would even just overspend a little bit on like training, hire another trainer or something. That's probably what I would do. Yeah. I think so. I think I'm going to get to go to space in my lifetime, which is wild. Just really wild. Yeah. I did sign up for that thing where I think it was a scam in the end, but when they were looking for volunteers to go to Mars, I signed up for that. So. Yeah, Bitcoin being legal tender in El Salvador. That's cool, man. It's like one of these things where I think it's easy to write off because it's like, well, it's El Salvador, who cares? But somebody had to be first, and it was going to be a country like El Salvador, and somebody has to be next. I mean, I guess they don't have to be, but very likely. Another topic you seem to not mention much is climate change. I have some anxiety around it. Look, it's real. It's bad. It's happening. Like, all those things are definitely true. There's almost nothing we can do about it. And this is one of these things I don't write about because I don't want to influence people to do nothing about it. But it's the amount of worry it should take up in your brain is like 0.0001%. When you can make a change, a big change in your life that could impact it, do it. Support legislation. More importantly, like, for example, I think it's not that important that somebody individually gets a solar panel, but I would be in favor of any legislation that made sure that everybody got solar panels or something like that. We're not going to do anything about it. It's industry primarily that drives it. A lot of it is now going, it's sort of inertia, and it's just going to happen to some point. We need big solutions. If you're the kind of person that can work on a solution, like there's terraforming in Hawaii, which one of my friends is working on, my friend Brian, who shows up for this sometimes, then that's a way to have leverage. And I think if you care enough to do that, then you should worry about it a lot and focus on it. But if you're not going to have an impact on it, like I'm not, we have to pick our battles. That's how I feel about it. Which do you prefer for a living environment, mountain or ocean? I guess the way I approach these, if I have to choose, I guess maybe I would choose ocean, maybe. I guess I have chosen desert because I live in the desert, although there's mountains everywhere. I think when I come across these questions, though, in my own life, what I think about instead is like, how do I get both of them? And for me, that means, we have an island, so it's all ocean. We have a place in Hawaii, which is all ocean. We have I'm in Vegas and I go to the mountains a lot here. I guess I don't have that much mountains, so maybe I've chosen ocean actually. Do I have any place that has mountains? Not really. So I guess I've chosen ocean. But I am in a place like in Japan, we go on trips to the mountains. In Europe, you can go. Even in the US, we go a lot. I haven't ridden with Stanley submarines. I'm going to look that up though. That sounds cool. I did a regular submarine, only went to 130 feet, which is the same depth I scuba dive at, I guess. But it was cool. It was really fun. It made me want to do more submarines. Did you sign up for Dear Moon? This is a trip around the world for artists on Starship. Oh, okay. I'm definitely going to sign up. Adam, get me a ride on Starship, please. You'll be the #1 reader of all time. Get me a ride to space. I would drop everything to go to space. If you need some idiot volunteer in something that might even blow up, I'm your guy. I'll do it. So you can donate to reforestation projects. Here's the thing, and I don't mean to sound cynical about it. I mean to sound practical about it. How much money could you donate, and would that have any impact whatsoever? And the answer is no. It's still a nice thing to do. If it makes you feel better, you should definitely do it. It's better than me spending money on a fancy dinner or something. You know what I mean? I just think it's important to, I think the problem is that people do things like this. And I'm not saying you do this, but I think that when we do things that are not actually useful towards a goal, but we think they are, we sort of excuse ourselves from the goal. So I would rather just be honest. The way I treat it is I'm like, look, I'm not going to solve politics. I'm not going to solve the environment change. I know where I have leverage, and it's, what I'm doing now, hopefully, is trying to help people think a little bit more outside the box and have better personal lives. I think I have a little bit more leverage on my friends and my family, so I try a little harder with them. Maybe there is some way that I do eventually get to be in a position where I could have more leverage on these things, and that'd be great. Or other causes I care even more about, maybe like education. But I don't know. Man. It's tough. I do get that it's hey, our planet's getting worse and we're not helping. It does kind of suck. That said, I am somewhat eco-friendly. I have solar panels. I do a lot of stuff to save power. I lived in an RV for many years. I don't know. I do some stuff. Sicily was really cool too. I really liked Sicily as well. I think you'd be a nice candidate for one of those challenges where people are given $1 and they have to turn it to 1,000 or 10K in an amount of time. How would you go? Here's the problem. Being a professional gambler, it really depends what the parameters are. If it's a race and there's a bunch of us and we just want so your chance of turning $1 into $10,000 is roughly 1 in 10,000, right? Unless you just go get a job and you just wait to have 10,000. So I don't know if it was I won the stock competition in my high school, but the reason was because I knew that I just had to take a lot of variance, right? It's something I wrote about recently. It's I just have to take a lot of variance, so I have the biggest chance of doing that. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't think I would be a good candidate for it. I think I would make it really boring. I guess it would really depend on the parameters of the contest. And if I'm allowed to use my network, if I'm allowed to use time, all that kind of stuff. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, many people donate those. It's not all that's true, but it's sort of is it a good thing that those foundations exist? Yes. Is it a good thing that people donate to them? Absolutely. Does it matter if you donate to them? No. And it's sort of like a catch-22, right? So I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but it's sort of like voting. I think voting is the exact same thing to me. I don't vote. I don't vote, but I would be very much in favor of a law that required everybody to vote. I would have to think about if we really want everybody voting, but generally I think it would be a good idea. And so when, what I see a lot is people vote and then they say, well, you can't complain because you didn't vote. It's well, I can complain if I want to, and your vote did nothing, because a single vote in a national election has never actually mattered. However, blocks of votes do matter. So if, for example, Misha, you led this movement and you got everybody to donate 10% of their salary to this, that would actually probably have an impact, right? Or if people really care about the vote, they should go campaign or something like that, or donate a ton of money so somebody else can campaign, or vote in local elections and really focus on those issues. So in general, I think that small actions tend to not matter, big actions do tend to matter. And so I would rather make fewer bigger actions on things I care about that I have leverage on versus trying to do every little single action that probably won't amount to anything. That said, I do believe in the collective action, and I do think that it would be good if we could get more collective action. Not bashing you for donating. I think it's a great thing you do. I think it's better than how I spend a lot of my money. Just an honest take on how I look at it personally. What do you think of those $1 Japanese homes for sale? Tempting. Having dealt with a little bit of Japanese bureaucracy, I guess I'm not lining up for them. They get sent to me every once in a while, though. I think it's cool. Japanese little towns are really nice. A lot of them have like mountains you can hike. They have like nice hot springs. Everywhere in Japan is proud of some random food they have. So there'd probably be some cool food that everybody specializes in. The reason I don't do one personally is because we already have a place in Tokyo, and my thought is, am I really going to split time between the mountain house or whatever and Tokyo? Not sure. That's kind of why I'm not buying any more properties, is because at this point I think that they would take away from other ones. But I think someone should look into it. I think it may very well be something that I just haven't looked into it enough, and there are some like amazing deals that are totally worth doing. And I think if you wanted to live in rural Japan anyway, which I know people who've done and they really like it, I would definitely I would look into it. I think it's probably really cool. What do you feel is the common thread between you and your social network? You always mention interesting people that I already follow online, but don't know you knew personally. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so a while back when I was working on set, and didn't have enough time. Before set, I would just hang out with anybody basically. And then once I started working on set, I realized that I didn't quite have enough time for everything, and so I had to be more selective with who I hung out with and made friends with. And it made me think, what do we all have in common? What do I look for in friends? And for me, it was people who are ambitious and kind. And so I think that's probably the common thread. I think another common thread is that most of my friends are pretty independent thinkers. They really, if they want some sort of result, they start with, they work backwards from that result versus like, what are the options that other people do that might get that result? And I think that's why I like drinking tea with them. We sit around and we have tea, and we often talk about sort of like interesting projects that we're doing or things that we're thinking about. And I really enjoy that sort of thing. So that's probably what I have in common. I think also most of my friends, I think there's a lot of substance to my friends, which, is probably true of most people in some way. But I think just because you mentioned online people, I think a lot of the online people that I am not friends with are people that are kind of like one trick pony, or at least that's how they present themselves. Actually, today I'm meeting somebody who I know from online, or I've never met him, but Kong from Simple Pickup. I'm going to have lunch with him. Pretty excited about that. If anybody ever watched that. See you later, Fatima. You might already be gone. Yeah, fair point, Misha. Actually, here's something I'm donating to. My wife actually found this. She's Chinese, and she found a site in China that helps sponsor, it pays for tuition and books, and I think food for students in China who couldn't otherwise afford it. And so I'm not going to change China, right? Not going to have any effect on China. But what I like about it is that it can definitely have a huge measurable effect on at least an individual. And we all have different priorities, and so I'm not saying that's better or worse, but I'm just saying that's something that appeals to me, because I can think, okay, well, we've definitely like made a concrete difference, and at least in one person's life. Yeah, man, I loved Kong's videos from Simple Pickup. Simple Pickup was this. So back in the days when I was in Pickup, we had this really tight-knit community. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody was really cool with each other. And it was a really fun community. Like, we just had a ton of fun. The generation that came after us, from a mostly outsider perspective, it really seemed like it was all about like extracting as much money from it as possible. And then Simple Pickup was sort of like a bright star in that, where like they were just having fun, and it sort of, to me, captured sort of the original spirit of what we were doing. Not that, I mean, I was a hanger-on to the original people, you know, more than anything. But yeah, it was cool. I really liked them, so I'm psyched to meet Con. Kauai is okay. I like Kauai. I think Kauai is more beautiful maybe than Big Island, or at least on par, maybe more beautiful. Big Island is, but the problem with Kauai is it's like where the old people live. I don't know. It's so trendy. It's so I feel like it's overpriced. Not to the extent that Maui is, but you know, I think a good measure of Hawaiian Islands is how many Hawaiian people you interact with on a daily basis. In Hilo, it's like all Hawaiian people, or not all, but like 80% or 50% or whatever. In Maui, it's 0. And in Kauai, it's like 20% or something. So, you know, everybody has different goals or whatever. But for me, I like that Hilo feels like a more livable place. I feel like I'm actually learning about Hawaiian, like modern Hawaiian culture, and being a part of it, versus being a tourist. But, you know, all the islands are cool and they have their own individual things. Even the ones I don't like very much have some awesome things. So, you know, just maybe personal preference. Curious about your main reasons. By the way, I think we're going to do like 15 more minutes, then I should get going. Curious about your main reasons for getting married. Couldn't you have the same relationship without license and ceremony? Were you considering the advantages? There were some practical reasons why we were doing it. And I think mostly I was neutral on it. It wasn't like I had to get married. I was just like, yeah, you know, might as well, why not? And it's better than I expected it to be. I originally thought that it would be exactly the same without the license and ceremony, and that there was really no point. In practice, I actually do feel like it's different and better. I also think it could be different and worse if you buy in too much to the like, this is what a marriage is sort of rules. Not like we're crazy swingers or anything like that, but just like, I think we're very like intentional about, for example, we almost never eat dinner together, maybe once or twice per week. And we just both prefer that. But I think like most people, when they find that out, they're like, well, you're a married couple, you should eat dinner together every night. Or like, we travel separately maybe half the time or something. Right now she's off traveling and I'm not, and then I'm going to go somewhere in a few weeks. And so I think that like there are things like that seem okay for people who are dating, but seem weird if you're married. That, you know, we kind of made our own rules. But the benefits of being married, I think, are that there is a barrier. Like, even if it's just paperwork to get unmarried, it would be really annoying versus like, hey, let's just break up. And so whenever there is something like room for improvement in the marriage or like some issue, you don't think about, I think before, and maybe this is just a bad thing about me, I don't know, before I would think like, do I want to deal with this or should I just break up? And now I just think like, how do I fix this? And you also think about long-term ramifications where it's not just like, how do I win this argument or something, but it's like, how do I respond to this conflict or issue in a way that's best for the marriage? Almost like it's a separate entity. And even just planning long-term, you know, we think about stuff over like 5, 10, 20-year time horizons, which feels weird when you're in a relationship, although maybe it wouldn't feel weird if you were in like a relationship this long. I don't know. But yeah, I liked it. You know, it's not for everybody, but I thought it was better than I expected. Yeah. Let's see. Good to see you, Mark. Thanks so much for coming and for all the good questions. Is the Superhuman thing yearly? I already have actual steps and don't have that much money, but that may change next year. It should be. I mean, you know, you never know. I might stop doing them. Like I thought I would coach forever, but now I'm not taking any new coaching clients. But I really enjoy the live thing, so I would assume I'd do it forever. So yeah, I'll be doing more in the near future. Don't come if it's going to be a financial strain. You shouldn't come. I mean, I guess it depends what your goals are, but generally, I would say I would rather that you can easily afford it and come then, so you don't have the pressure. That'd be what I would suggest. Yeah, and you have actionable steps. Yeah, come next year. What's up, Hassan? Good to see you, man. If you would become interested again in pickup just for fun with the wife, have an issue with that? Probably. I don't know. You know, like, for example, Mystery lives in Vegas. If I went out with him one night and was just like chatting for fun, you know, she wouldn't care. If I was like, hey, I'm going to dedicate my life to pickup, yeah, she wouldn't be into that. Anytime, man. Thanks for showing up. Does your wife spend more time in Asia than you? Any plans? I think I spend more time than her, actually. I do have a base in Asia. I have a place in Tokyo, which actually my wife has never been to before. We were planning on going, and then COVID. She also actually has a house in China, which we've never stayed at, but I've been to once. But it's sort of more of like, it's the kind of house you'd want to live in if you were working in China, not if you're like going there for a week or two at a time. We usually go to China once per year, but yeah, I guess we've missed 2 years now because of COVID. I'm really bad at keeping track of COVID. I keep saying 1 year ago, and then I realize it was 2. Yeah, she usually goes for like a month per year, but I think I spend cumulatively more than that. All right, guys. Any more questions? Any random things you want to hear about? Anything you want to tell me? I would be psyched to hear what's going on in your lives. By the way, comments are back on the blog. It's so much fun seeing comments again. If you guys maybe, I don't know if anybody knows that there's comments or not, but please leave comments. It's been fun to write back a little bit. Considering you're semi-famous, what kinds of precautions do you take to protect your privacy so your personal info isn't too exposed? I take precautions. I guess maybe I shouldn't take I shouldn't talk specifics, but I think I'm like famous enough that once in a while I get an annoying person who just like wants to find out my personal info, but not famous enough that like people really care that much or are trying to cause problems for me. It's actually the number one thing that causes that. I think there are a lot of things I could do to become more famous, and I think that there are a lot of benefits of that. I think that online culture has become so like weird and doxy and trolly that that I just have zero interest in it. Like my life's good enough, I don't need to do it. And I think probably, I'm not saying this about me, but I think it probably prevents, like, I think there's going to be less good online discourse because there's just too much of a cost to it these days. So yeah. Like I really admire people like Noah, who he's very doxable. Like people find his address and post it on these things, and it's like, I don't know, man, that would freak me out. I guess we all have guns, so there's that. I don't know, maybe I should just do a deep dive on Ethereum. I feel like I'm just like not an expert enough that I want to tell people what to do on it. You know, I don't mind telling people what I'm doing, but if I'm giving advice, I want to be like really certain that it's good advice, or at least be able to say, hey, 75% chance this works, 25% it doesn't. And with crypto, I think it could be a situation where I don't know enough to know what I don't know. Let's put it that way. So I'm happy with it. For me, I'm happy with the risk as I assess it. But yeah, anyway, I think you get it. I've been to South Korea a couple times. It was okay. I wasn't there long enough to really make a full impression, so I think it might be awesome. A lot of my friends really like it. But in my opinion, it was sort of like, it felt to me like the worst of both worlds between Japan and China. That's probably not even close to fair. And I probably, I'll go back for sure. And for example, if I could go there now and there wasn't that stupid quarantine, if I was vaccinated, I would go for a week and try it again. Yeah. Wait, you're new to the blog? I thought Oh, there's another guy with your same last name who I've seen before. I thought you were a regular. Well, welcome to the blog. How'd you find it? I'd be curious to know. Stop taking new clients because I took more on during COVID because I just knew I was going to be at home. And I like doing the calls from home if I can. I just have like a really good setup here, and I don't know, just easy. When I travel, I don't like doing it as much. And so now that I'm starting to travel, I'm keeping everybody I have. I'm not going to get rid of anybody or anything. But as people kind of graduate or go away or whatever, I'm not replacing them. And I think eventually probably, I think I have a few people who I might have for life, but other than them, yeah, I'm not going to take anybody new. I think also financially, like it's incredible use of my time per hour, but in terms of like monthly contribution versus my goals, doesn't matter that much. No. I don't mind the Vegas heat. Everybody, I don't know, Townhouse, do you live here in Vegas? I feel like people worry so much about the Vegas heat, and it's just not that bad. You're in air-conditioned places most of the time. You know, I have a pool, so jump in a swimming pool. Even when I didn't have a pool, I don't know, there were like pools on the strip you can use. The boat is currently broken, but when the boat works, I go out in the boat and swim in the lake. So there's certain things. What I think about when there's something like that that's bad, it's like, okay, Vegas heat is probably not a pro by default. How can I make it a pro? And so get a pool, get a boat, you know, travel during the summer, stuff like that. To me, the heat is a positive. I asked my wife the other day, because we had some friends who are thinking about moving to Vegas but are so terrified of the heat. I asked her just without any context. I said, hey, what's your favorite season and least favorite season in Vegas? And she thought about it. She's like, yeah, I like all of them for different reasons. So yeah, me too. So yeah, it's not like people in Vegas are just like outside in the heat all day, you know. Yeah, I have a virtual assistant. She does the tech support on Cruise Sheet and also does a bunch of personal tasks for me as well. My friend Teresa was really into having assistants, and we were on a cruise one time, and she was like, you have an assistant, right? I said, no. She said, you're insane. You have to have an assistant. I have one. I would never live without her. So I made up all these kind of excuses. I'm like, I don't know where to find them, blah, blah. She said, okay, if I find you one, will you sign up and, you know, commit to using her for like 3 or 6 months? And I said, sure. So she found me an assistant, and she was 100% right. I would never get rid of her. Yeah. I'm going to read more about this, but I haven't used sunscreen in probably 20 years. But I have a friend who's really, really into it. I don't like the weird chemicals. And I also feel like, I don't know, I'm not going to get into it. Probably this is correct advice, but I don't wear it personally. Currently saving up money for a tiny mobile home or an RV. Any thoughts on the two differences, pros and cons? I think it depends what your goal is and what you want to do with it. I'm assuming mobile home means like a trailer, or maybe you mean a tiny home. I'm not. Maybe you can tell me which one you mean. The big con to it, I think RVs are better value. They're more flexible, easy to move. You can use them as a car. The downside is that, and this is what happened to me, is that I made the inside so nice that then I became super worried that the engine was going to die, so I basically stopped driving it. Although now, check this out, this is ironic. A reader bought my RV from me. He sold it to another reader. That reader, I kind of forget his deal, but he was like, had to move out of the country because of visa issues or something, and he had to sell it quickly. And he said, hey, if you know anybody who wants to buy it, I'll sell it for a really good price. I told one of my friends, she bought it, and then a year later, she moved into my neighborhood. So my RV is now parked like less than a mile from me, and I see it almost every day on the way to Chipotle. Pretty crazy. Do you know what website Teresa used to find the VA? I'm not sure. She already had a VA, and then she asked her VA for a recommendation. That's sort of the way to do it. You can get a better deal because then there's no middleman, so you just pay them directly, and they get to keep all the money, and you pay less. So that's what I did. All right, guys, 5 more minutes, and then I've got to get ready for lunch with Kong. Got time for one more question. Oh, there's all these buttons I've been meaning to press. Let's see. Oh, interesting. All right, I'm going to learn about that later. Cool. Next, let's see, where am I going to be? Am I going to do this next week? I'm going to look at my schedule. I feel like a big problem with these tea times is that I only tell people 2 days before, and I never plan them ahead. Oh, so I will probably not be doing it. Oh, well, probably not doing it next week. Maybe the weekend after that. Oh, yeah, probably going to miss 2 more weeks after this. Sorry, guys. That's too bad. Might try to sneak one in next week. We'll see. Oh, boy. It might be many weeks before I can do this again. Country with the prettiest girls, your opinion? Maybe Taiwan, Japan. I'm trying to think. There's definitely some places in Europe. I don't know. I feel like I don't notice these things as much. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I just don't notice as much. Maybe I notice. I think I notice more when there aren't attractive people. I think I'm used to seeing a regular amount of people, attractive people, and then there are some cities where I'm like, oh, I haven't seen any attractive people here at all. Do you like the Philippines? I've never been. I've heard really good things, but yeah, I've never been. Misha, thanks for showing up. Yeah, it's really fun for me. I feel very privileged and lucky to be at a point in life where I can do things and not care about if they're like the right business move or even the right move for my blog. I can just kind of do what I want to do. And yeah, for me, it's just super fun just doing this once per week and hanging out. And I think it also gives me a better idea of what people care about. And so maybe that helps blog posts a little bit. So yeah, I really enjoy doing them. I think it's at least equally good for me as it is for anybody else. I think I get a lot out of it personally. You know, why don't we let's use the last few minutes and talk about this. I think this is an interesting thing, and I think I should just make all these Ethereum posted because that's what everybody actually cares about, and it's kind of it's what my friends and I talk about too. So yeah, I get it. So the reason I invest in Ethereum is because of the technology, and it's been that case since years ago when I first invested in it. What's incredible about Ethereum is that it's something called Turing complete, which probably a lot of people here know what that means, but essentially that means that any operation can be executed on it. So for example, plus, minus, multiply, divide, if, else, and all these sorts of things. I don't actually know what the set is. I should look it up. But there's a set of these building blocks that if you know all of them, if you have all of them, you can combine them to make any other building block in all of programming. So Bitcoin did not have this. Every programming language has it. Every major one has it. And Ethereum was the first cryptocurrency to have a Turing complete scripting language. And so what that means is that you can literally do anything on Ethereum. Doesn't mean it would be good for it, but you could literally port Quake to Ethereum. It wouldn't really work because it would be too slow, but it's possible. So what's interesting about that is that it makes it so that you can build any financial system on top of Ethereum. Probably you know this, Paul, but maybe not everybody does, that most cryptos are built on top of Ethereum. They're actually secured by the Ethereum blockchain, and they're just a smart contract on top of it. It's called an ERC20 usually token. So that's what's exciting about it to me. And this has sort of been a hypothetical for a long time where it's like, well, technically we could do this and we could do this, and now it's actually happening. So if you go to yearn.finance, which is a site I'm really into, you can invest in these automatic money managers that basically move your money around, earning the highest percentage safe return it can, using this Turing complete language that's on top of Ethereum. This is like mind-blowing because there's no company doing it, there's no central authority, it's happening automatically and emotionlessly, which is generally a good thing for investing. So I'm not sure if that's what you're asking or not, but that's one thing I'm excited about. I'm really excited about it moving to proof of stake, which is a huge deal. It's going to increase the value of Ethereum, but it's also going to make it so that we don't have to use all this electricity. So when we think about electricity usage for crypto, if it is at the current levels it's at now, and it continues to be at that level and increases, probably crypto could be a net negative for society. If all of that power is used to jumpstart it, and now it's going to move to proof of stake, which uses no electricity, well, actually that power used was probably really worth it. And so I think that's a really interesting thing. Generally, what I love about Ethereum is I think that they started with the right idea for a project. I think their leadership is excellent. I don't watch a ton of this stuff, but whenever I see interviews with like their top researchers, I think they're geniuses. So yeah, I love Ethereum as a technology. And that's why I kind of don't care when it goes down, because I'm just like, it's just so cool. It's just such a cool technology. I'm happy to be a part of it. And I believe it's going to win out in the end. I think it's inevitable because it's so good. That's how I feel about it. That's my little rave rant. So yeah, I'm earning a percentage on my Ethereum. I talked about it a little bit earlier in this if you wanted to scroll back. But you're in finance. I do the Curve Steph vault. And I also stake Ethereum directly. I think I also have a little bit in BlockFi or something like that. All right, guys, it's an hour and a half. I think that's all I've got time for today. Thank you so much for coming here. I really appreciate, how do you spell the site? All right, let me type. See, this is why I don't type. I have to put my arms way over here. Urine.finance. There you go. There it is. Urine.finance. Or is it urine.fi? One of the two. Anyway, thank you guys so much for showing up. Probably it'll be another 3 weeks before I can do another one of these. I have some interesting friends coming into town next week. So we'll see. I might try to bring them on. Or we might just be doing so much stuff that it's not really practical. But anyway, really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for showing up. Thanks for all the great questions. If nobody asked questions, I would just sit here and drink tea. It'd be really boring. Really appreciate all you guys reading, contributing, texting, posting, all that.